Don't do it. Don't give me hope. Because that's exactly what Detroit Red Wings fans are saying to the rest of the NHL right now. You see, the Detroit Red Wings have been slipping and sliding and fumbling their way out of a playoff spot after being one of the best teams in the league all season. But today, we are diving into the updates. Because yesterday's hockey festivities on the ice in the National Hockey League actually gave the Red Wings a decent amount of hope. And I want to go out there and give a big shout out to Jet Greaves, Pavel Zacha, Jeremy Swayman, and the rest of the Columbus Blue Jackets and Boston Bruins, because they went out there and helped the Detroit Red Wings big time. Now, let's get into the standings, then we'll get into how the Bruins and the Blue Jackets helped out Detroit and their squad, and what this means heading into today's NHL festivities. Yesterday, the Columbus Blue Jackets had a whopping 3-0 lead against the Boston Bruins that was established in the first period. This held on until the third, when Charlie McAvoy scored at the 6-minute mark of the third period to make it 3-1, and then you had Pavel Zacha scoring 2 minutes later to make it 3-2. Leave it to Pavel Zacha to then get the game-tying goal with 11 seconds left in regulation. Oh my goodness. This game was available to me on Sportsnet here in Vancouver, British Columbia, so I was able to watch this one live. I actually had some stake in the game because one of my friends in my fantasy league, he was losing his semifinal matchup and he ended up picking up Jet Greaves because he was like, yeah, I'm desperate. I need guys. In the other semifinal matchup, had Jeremy Swayman and Pavel Zacha on my team, and I was dominating my semifinal matchup, so I was kind of like, yeah, let's see how much I can get out of this game. The Red Wings, obviously, were watching this for more intense purposes than just paying attention to their own fantasy team, but Pavel Zacha went out there and scored a beautiful snapshot in desperation territory to seal the deal and tie the game 3-3 with 10 seconds to go in regulation. The Columbus Blue Jackets getting these 2 points ripped away from their grubby paws at the hands of Pavel Zacha, and it wasn't until Victor Arvidsson and Fraser Minton ended up scoring in the shootout to give Boston the big 2 points. Ladies and gentlemen, the Columbus Blue Jackets fumbled a 3-0 third period lead, and they lost out on the big 2 points. They got one, of course, they lost in a shootout, that's how it works in the NHL, but the fact that Boston stormed the castle in the third period, and the fact that McAvoy and Zacha were able to get enough goals to bring this one back to even Steven is a huge deal for the Red Wings. Take a look at the NHL standings as they are right now. Boston is first wildcard territory. They've got 92 points. Columbus, they're second wildcard territory. 88 points. 74 games. Right now, the Red Wings, the Senators, and the Flyers have 2 fewer points than the Blue Jackets with 1 fewer game played. There is the potential for all of these teams to go out there and be tied, depending on how their next game goes. For the Detroit Red Wings, we actually won't see what happens with that until tomorrow when they play off against the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Philadelphia Flyers are also playing tomorrow at 4 p.m. PST against the Washington Capitals, and then you have the Senators who play off against the Florida Panthers. So all 3 of these teams will be against different opponents tomorrow, which puts them all in a realistic possibility to each get 88 points in 74 games played, tying them with Columbus. Could we have a 4-way tie for the second wildcard spot by the end of tomorrow? The Blue Jackets, mind you, They actually do have a game tomorrow as well. They're playing off against the Carolina Hurricanes. But of course, they do have one more game played than the Sens, the Wings, and the Flyers at the moment. So things are getting really, really tight. And all I'm saying here is that if Columbus held on to their 2 points in regulation, not only would the Boston Bruins have been closer with 90 points in 74 games, but the Blue Jackets would have distanced their gap on Ottawa, Detroit, and Philadelphia by that just much more. They need as much as they can get. Any little bit helps, and Jet Greaves, unfortunately, was at the hand of letting in a really nice play from Pavel Zacha. Oh, look, I'm not going to go out there and give Greaves all the flack for the goals that were scored yesterday in the third period. Boston just came on super strong to tie the game and win the game. They really pushed hard. And it's why I'm a pretty happy camper, because Pavel Zacha has been going off these past few games. Also, there's the fact that Boston, with their 92 points, that would be good enough to be second in the Metro, if they were in the Metro. But they're in the Atlantic, and the third place Atlantic team is Montreal with 94 points. Yeah, you knew the Eastern Conference was a mess this year. It's not just a mess when you compare it to the West, it's also a mess when you compare the Metro to the Atlantic. It is definitely more comfortable for teams like the New York Islanders and the Penguins to be in a Metro spot that sees them hold on, despite the fact that they have fewer points than the top wildcard team out of the Atlantic in Boston. So it certainly is a tight playoff picture. If you head over to moneypuck.com and you look at the playoff odds right here, the Red Wings are at 35%, the Sens, 50%. The Blue Jackets are at 49%, and the Philadelphia Flyers are at 26%. This is all despite the fact that Ottawa, Detroit, and Philadelphia are all tied. Now, we did mention this in previous videos, but the Money Puck playoff odds are not just strictly calculated based off of wins, losses, and what have you. There is an element of advanced analytics that does come into play as well, that incorporates the actual on-ice results of these teams. So it's not just straight up, okay, well, mathematically, this team is better than that team, and this team has this schedule, and therefore, there is an element of, hey, this team is playing super good hockey right now, and that propels them higher in the model, because advanced analytics and Corsi and whatnot is incorporated into the way MoneyPuck calculates these things. So Detroit being at a lower rank, despite the fact that they literally have the same amount of points in the same amount of games played as the Ottawa Senators, that's more intentional because the Sens have been winning their games and they've been playing really well, versus the Detroit Red Wings, who just can't really seem to get it done. Yeah, it's not really all too good for the Red Wings at this stage. But with all that established, we gotta say it at the end of the day, Columbus really helped out Detroit here by shooting themselves in the foot. Boston, despite the fact that they confidently hold on to that number one wildcard spot, they also helped out the Detroit Red Wings in a pretty meaningful way. And all I gotta do is say thank you, Jeremy Swayman. Please start as many games as you can this week. And Pavel Zacha, please go out there and do your thing, baby, because I'm in the finals now. And it's not going to be an easy run in this matchup here. So with all that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Detroit Red Wings, the Ottawa Senators, the Blue Jackets, and the Philadelphia Flyers, and how Boston and Columbus just had a very positive game for all these teams on the outside looking in? What's your thought process following this game from yesterday? How do you feel about the Red Wings' chances in particular heading into the next few days? What are your thoughts about how the team is going to perform tomorrow as they play off against Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.